Hello and welcome back. Today's video is eyeshadow palettes that I sadly regret buying. Now there aren't that many. There's actually only 6, which is very, very good. I do try to be very picky with my purchases, but occasionally I get carried away and I buy something out of impulse, mostly is what happens. I did do a video ranking my entire eyeshadow palette collection. So if you want to see that, I will link it in the description box. And then I have also done a video where I talk about every eyeshadow palette I have ever decluttered. I will link that as well, but I'm not necessarily going to declutter these palettes. Right now, I'm actually not going to declutter them at all. Maybe 1 or 2 of them might end up going at some point in the future, but they're not necessarily bad. They're just, not my favorite compared to other things I've tried, or, I just kind of bought them for the wrong reasons. So hopefully this will be a lesson learned to me so that I don't make these mistakes again, and let's get into it. First up is this Anastasia Norvina collection. This is the mini volume 1. And now this I regret buying. It's not my favorite formula. It's definitely not bad though. It's very different from the original Anastasia formula. These are technically pressed pigments, so it's very different to work with them. They are nice though, and I have done a few looks that I actually really did like. I don't like the shimmers at all, honestly. They're a bit chunky and not my favorite, but the mattes, they are pretty good, and the colors are really nice. This is currently on clearance though at Sephora, and so are all of the other Norvina palettes, which is kind of crazy that every single one of them is on clearance. I don't know if it was just that they released too many at once, or if other people feel the way I feel, whereas it's not, the best formula in my opinion. It's definitely not bad. I mean, I got this full price for $29, and yeah, I regret it, but again, I like it. I just don't love it. I don't plan on decluttering it at this point, but maybe eventually that one will go. This next one is one that I definitely bought for the wrong reason. This is the Nabla Coral Cutie palette. I've talked about this on my channel multiple times, in that I really just wanted to try the brand, because that is something I do want to do, particularly in the last year. I've been trying to try brands that I've never tried before to, expand my horizons, and also just to be able to compare formulas. And I heard a lot of really good things about the Nabla palettes. Now, the one I really wanted, I think, was the Dreamy 2. And I was on the Ulta website and I saw this, and this is cheaper. This is $24. The full size is around 36-ish to 40. And I was feeling cheap, and I thought, you know what? I'll just get the smaller one. I've never tried the brand, blah, blah, blah. Well, honestly, I think I would have used the other one more. Now, there's nothing really wrong with this. The formula is quite good, but I will say these 2 glittery type shades, they are a bit more difficult to work with. The mattes are very nice quality. I like those a lot. Then you have this more metallic one here, and this is more of a satin. I just don't reach for this. And when I do, I like it, but I'm really not amazed per se. Kind of a bummer, because I really did want to try the brand, and it's definitely not bad. I mean, it is a good formula, although I will say, yeah, those 2 shades are a little bit more difficult to work with, but yeah, lesson learned. Don't buy a palette just because it's cheaper than another palette. Then we have the Maybelline Lemonade Craze, and this I bought as an impulse walking through Target when I was kind of in a bad mood and I felt like buying something to make myself feel better. Not a good reason to buy makeup, okay? Or anything really for that matter, but it happens, okay? I know I'm not the only one, and I have used this a decent amount. I actually have hit pan on this shade. This is only $10, but the reason I regret it is it's just not that great of a formula. It's a bit on the sheer side, and it takes a lot of building up, and it's quite powdery. But the reason I've kept it around is that I really do love the colors. I was recently wearing this in my Pan That Palette video, and I really love how that look turned out. I love particularly these 3 matte shades and this shimmer here. But again, not the most pigmented formula. It just takes a lot of building. This eventually I may get rid of, but the color story is so pretty that is why I keep that one around. Now, the next 2 palettes are from one of my favorite brands, and that is Juvia's Place. The only reason I regret buying them is that I was kind of just buying them to complete the collection. The color stories were really not speaking to me, but I knew I loved Juvia's Place and I have a whole bunch of other palettes from them, and I just don't reach for these as much. This one is the Warrior 3 and I have done a review and tutorial on it. The quality is fantastic. You know, these two blue colors, they're just not my favorite. They're not colors I wear a whole lot. The mattes are amazing, but if I'm gonna use a rainbow palette, for some reason, I either use the Juvia's Place Zulu or my Ace Beauté Slice of Paradise. Those are kind of my two favorite colorful palettes. Again, there is nothing wrong with this. It is really good quality, but it's just, I don't reach for it. And I think, again, I bought it more to complete the Juvia's collection. And same goes for this. This is the Warrior 2. Again, very, very good formula. Absolutely nothing wrong with this palette. I just don't reach for it. It is an all matte neutral palette. It is absolutely gorgeous. I will say though that from Juvia's, I do like their matte formula, but I prefer their metallic formula. I think that kind of goes above and beyond. And because this palette is all matte, I think that is part of the reason I don't reach for it, but I really should use this more because it's gorgeous. Actually, the story of getting this was kind of a weird experience. I wasn't actually intending on purchasing it, and I was returning the Juvia's foundation to Ulta. This was like a year ago, and I had purchased it with Ulta points. And usually that isn't a problem, but I don't know. They were having a hard time with that at the store, and the manager came. It was a whole story, but she basically said, just go pick something out that is the exact same price as the foundation so that you're not losing your points, which actually was very, very nice of her. And this is $20 and the foundation was $20. So the store was crowded. I was looking at the palettes. I was like, I don't know, I'll just grab this one because I don't have it. So that was kind of the story on that one. Yeah, if I could go back in time, I probably would have picked a different Juvia's Place palette, but it is still good and there is really nothing wrong with it. Now, the last palette, this is one I would say where the formula isn't great. The rest of those, some are really good to okay. This, not amazing. This is the Milani Gilded Coast. And this is one that I bought out of curiosity because I love the Milani Bold Obsessions and the Soft and Sultry. I've talked about those palettes so much on my channel, but they're getting rid of them because they're not in stores anymore and they've been on clearance on the Milani site and people have seen them at TJ Maxx. So I thought, you know what, clearly they're replacing these or those with these palettes. So I want to try one. And this was at Target. It was, I think, $14. But this formula it's just not as good as the other Milani palettes I have. It is very, very powdery. It is not as pigmented. The mattes are so splotchy and horrendous. I mean, they're bad in my opinion. The shimmers though, I mean, they're workable. You can build these up actually. And I have done a couple looks I did like with these shimmers. So it's not terrible, but compared to the other Milani palettes, it's quite subpar, unfortunately. Now, the reason I'm keeping this one around is because I actually don't have a lot of these colors. I really don't have a ton of cool tones, and I definitely don't have a lot of these silvery type shades. So to my collection, this is actually quite unique. And interestingly enough, I was considering buying the Colourpop Smoke Show palette, which is all black and gray. And then I was looking at this and I thought, wow, actually there's quite a few colors in here that look like that palette. And I know that if I bought that Colourpop palette, I wouldn't use it all the time. That wouldn't be an everyday palette. That would be something I wear like 3 times a year. So why declutter this and buy that when I'm still not going to use it all that often? So I figure I'll keep this around for when I want to do those type of looks, and I can just combine it with mattes from other palettes because, like I said, I strongly dislike the mattes. But the shimmers are definitely workable. Alrighty, that is it for this video. Hopefully I have learned some lessons here not to buy makeup or anything else for that matter for the wrong reason. You know, I do usually put a lot of thought into the things I purchase. I look up a lot of reviews, watch YouTube videos. I don't buy a lot of impulse purchases, which is good. Considering I have 60 something palettes, the fact that I'm only regretting 6 of them, I actually think is pretty good. But I mean, obviously I have decluttered palettes in the past, like I said. So please let us know, are there any palettes or products in general that you just regret buying that maybe you bought for the wrong reason? It definitely happens to all of us. So yeah, that is it for this video, and thank you so much for watching.